Chapter 8. We just witnessed the deaths of most of humanity, well, witnessed in book form. We read about how everyone and everything with nostrils died on the earth. In case you're catching up with us now, we're in the middle of the story of Noah, which most people should know. The fun part of reading the Bible, because everyone can relate to it, it's the stories we know. It's the stories we're familiar with. At some point, I'm probably going to hate doing this. Probably going to hate making this YouTube channel. And I hope you're all there with me. I don't know what I hope. What do I hope for? It doesn't matter. We're on chapter 8. It's still in the middle of the story of Noah and the flood. It does this thing. You're probably, if you've watched from the beginning, you're probably tired of me saying this at this point. The chapter numbers and the chapter titles are split up. So we stopped in the middle of Noah and the flood. And we're continuing with chapter 8. Let's see what happens here with the currently flooded earth. It was flooded for 150 days. That's the last thing we know. Noah and his family are just shacked up on the boat that God sealed. Let's see what happens. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals. That's such a funny way to word that. God was like, oh yeah, Noah's on the boat. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. It really does sound like he was actually just remembering them. I was joking at first. And he sent a wind over the earth and the waters. What? And the waters receded? So God's like, that's why you see those depictions from like old medieval paintings where there's like an old guy and he's like, he's got the long hair, big long hair. That's what I imagine is happening. What does it mean? He sent a wind. Where did it go? The earth's round, according to most of us. Like, was it physically blown away or it evaporated? He just dried it up. And what did that do to the atmosphere and space? Questions we'll never know the answer to. Now the spring, we learned about this earlier. I didn't know this was a thing, or I forgot about it. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed. So the water was coming from beneath us somewhere, I guess in reserves or something. I mean, we know now that there's a lot of crust and what's the other one called? Mantle and lava if you go deep enough. Or liquid metal, it's like iron or nickel or who knows what it is. Not me. It's like the Terminator down there. I hope that reference wasn't too much of a stretch. Now let's just get back to it. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily. It says receded. The water receded steadily from the earth. So receding implies that it's like pulling back. We all know what the word receding is like when you're on the beach and the flood, the water, the waves come on the earth. It's a reference to the last video if you didn't see it. And then they recede back into the ocean. So are these just like receding? I guess I said the springs were closed. Where's the water going? This is like one of the basic laws of physics. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can evaporate, but it doesn't say it evaporated. It says it receded. Again, answers in the comments. If you have them, good luck. I'm sorry, that was condescending again. I said I was going to try not to do that. But I mean, come on. You know there's going to be people, maybe not you, dear viewer, but there's going to be people who are arrogant enough to think that they just have answers to several thousand-year-old writings, situations, whatever you want to call this. The words didn't come to me. They clearly did for this guy. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 7th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Ararat. It's called A-R-A-R-A-T. Ararat. Don't know where that is. There is a map in here somewhere. Hang on, I haven't shown this to the channel yet. Look at this thing in the back. It's like a fantasy book. Look at that. You know how much I paid for this thing for a color map in the back? You want to start a business, you got to invest. This is a contested territory these days. Is that too much? Can I make jokes like that? The waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, you're floating around. You're bored as... I'm going to avoid swearing on this channel. You're really bored, and then you're like, oh, look at that. On top of a mountain. All the snow's gone. After 40 days, again, 40 days, we're on that theme again. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made, in the ark and sent out a raven. He waited until now. Are we sitting in darkness? Ugh, gross. Can you imagine just like donkey hay? Two big elephants, cows, horses. Everyone knows horse smell. It's gross. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made an ark. He even made it. He had the window there ready to be open, and he was like, not until 150 days are over, and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. So this raven, he's a raven duty. That's why he needed 7 pairs of birds. He needed 7 ravens in case he couldn't find the boat and just died in the ocean. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. Wait, so he sent out the raven until the water had dried up from the earth, and then he sent out a dove for some reason. I think we're coming up on this. We're going to read about the dove here in a minute, but I believe this is why the dove is so often used as a symbol of peace. And he carries an olive branch, which I think also has biblical significance. All my knowledge and memories are too rusty. It's been too long since I've studied this stuff. That's why you got to stay sharp. That's why you got to be like iron sharpening iron. If you know anything about the Bible. So stupid. Me, not the Bible, obviously. Bible's super cool. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground, but the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. Weird time to be descriptive. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Not even a branch, just a leaf. Freshly plucked. Guess the dove didn't have to fly too far. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. Dove technology. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. So Noah wasn't like, that dove's dead. He said, it's time to come out. The earth is back. And try not to trip over any bodies, anyone. By the first day of the first month, so I guess they just had a normal calendar. We said, I think, 17th day of the 7th month earlier. I think this whole thing's, I'm not going to look, but I think like a page ago, it said it all started on the 17th day of the 2nd month, I think. It's not that important, I guess. It's a long time. He's been on the boat for a long time. But by the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was completely dry. So they're just telling us it's dry. I spoke too soon again. I'm sorry I keep doing that. It's probably, I'm just going to warn you, we're on page 10. It is probably going to happen this entire Bible. I am probably going to comment on things a little prematurely. All of you are just going to have to deal with that. But, I mean, I don't know. It's a natural human trait. The brain fills in gaps. Not my fault. The brain does that. Easy way to pass it off into something else. The brain is not me. It's a separate entity. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Again, is this a translation? Is this a language thing? It's such a weird way to word that. You and your wife and your sons and their wives, bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it. So Noah came out, together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives. All the boys get named first. Hashtag patriarchy. All the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds. Everything that moves on land came out of the ark, one kind after another. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. First instance of burnt offerings. Here you go, God. I know that we need sustenance and you do not, but here is a burned bird. Wait, okay, hang on, back up. Taking some of the, why did I not even question this? Taking some of the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. He immediately drives animals into extinction, which I know we saw earlier. In case you didn't watch some of the earlier videos, he brought like 7 pairs of birds onto the ark. So, I mean, I get it. You want to have a little snack? Cook yourself a bird. There's no law. There's no one there to enforce anything. Noah's head of the family, apart from God. But it says he took some of the clean animals and sacrificed. So that's it. They're the only animals. It doesn't matter if it was the guy or the girl. One of them's not reproducing. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart. So I guess he didn't say this out loud. It says he said it in his heart. I'm going to use that in the future. I'm going to say things in my heart and then say that that's a way of saying things. Never again will I curse the ground because of humans. Is he experiencing regret? Even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. Wow. I don't remember that either. Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood? That bears a lot of implication. That's actually, I don't even know what to think of that. Because a big part of baptism, when you baptize someone in the name of Jesus, spoiler alert, we're going to get to that too in about 9 years. A lot of the arguments people make about children who die prior to baptism is that they automatically go to heaven because they're innocent. They haven't had time to think of baptism. And then there's always this kind of weird gray line where it's like, what's the line at which these are certain, I don't know, this is not everyone's argument about salvation, but there's like this thing where people are like, well, that kid was too young. That kid who died was too young to go to hell. I mean, he's in heaven because he's innocent. But then it's like, at what point is someone knowledgeable enough to then be baptized and be saved? If you believe baptism is the only thing that can save you, which again, my denomination largely did. Well, I don't know. It depends. Shifting morals over time. It's a much larger conversation than we have time for now. You get what I'm saying. Even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. And then separate paragraph again, we saw some separate paragraphs in the earlier videos. This is a new paragraph. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest. Seed time is one word, which I did not know. Cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. Oh, I thought he was going to like make a promise or something, because he started by saying, as long as the earth endures, all of these things will never cease. That's the statement he made. So seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter. He just throws in the seasons in there. Day and night will never cease until the sun expands and consumes the earth. What am I supposed to say? You're coming to me with these verses. Never? It says never. It will never cease. It will. The day-night cycle is just because the earth turns in a circle. That won't exist when the earth is gone. I mean, periods of time will, I guess, and day and night is relative. If you fly fast enough on a plane in a circle around the world, day never ends. I don't think we had that technology yet, but we will. No, we do. There's some really fast jets out there. In not Angels and Demons, in the Da Vinci Code, maybe it is Angels and Demons, the main guy, Robert... It's not Galbraith. The main character, Robert something, he gets like kidnapped onto a government plane. It was a very loose memory. I read these books a long time ago. And he's put onto like a secret government, like CIA plane or something. And he's flown from, I don't know, somewhere in America to like France in like 4 hours. And if you could go at that speed, I mean, how long is that around the Earth? It's like 16 hours? Yeah. You could stay in daytime forever. I don't know what point I'm making. That's the end of chapter 8. I'll see you guys for the next one.